I set my pen down on the mahogany desk and watched the attorney slide the final document across to me. My hand shakes slightly as I pick up the pen again. Elena Marie Reeves. I sign my name on the first line, then the second, then the third. Each signature feels like closing a door that's been left open for too long. That's it, Mr. Chen says, collecting the papers. The property is now held in an irrevocable trust with Sophie as the sole beneficiary. The LLC structure protects it from any claims. Your brother can't touch it. Nobody can. I nod, but I don't feel relief yet. Just tired. It's been 6 weeks since my father's birthday dinner. 6 weeks since my brother stood up in front of 40 people and told me I was selfish, ungrateful, and destroying our family. 6 weeks since my mother called me at 7 in the morning demanding I sign over the lake house. The lake house. God, I can still smell the pine trees, feel the dock under my bare feet, hear my grandmother's voice calling me in for dinner. Let me back up. My grandmother died 2 years ago. Helen Reeves, the strongest woman I ever knew. She raised 4 kids alone after my grandfather passed when my dad was 12. She worked 2 jobs, put all of them through college, and somehow still managed to buy a little cabin on Lake Tahoe in 1987. Over the years, she fixed it up, expanded it, made it beautiful. That cabin was her pride and joy. I spent every summer there growing up. My brother Marcus is 4 years older, and when we were kids, we'd spend whole days on that lake, building forts in the woods, jumping off the dock, staying up late to count stars. Those were good years. Before everything got complicated, Marcus was always the golden child, star athlete, straight A's, full scholarship to UCLA. I was the artsy one, the quiet one, the one who struggled with math and got anxious in crowds. My parents loved us both, but there was always this undercurrent, like Marcus was the success story and I was the work in progress. When I got pregnant at 23, that pretty much sealed it. Jake and I got married fast, too fast. My parents made it clear they were disappointed. Marcus gave me this pitying look at the wedding that I can still see if I close my eyes. Like I'd failed some test he'd passed easily. The marriage lasted 4 years. Jake was a good guy, but we were kids. We wanted different things. The divorce was amicable. We share custody of Sophie. And honestly, we're better as co-parents than we ever were as spouses. But my family never let me forget it. Every holiday, every gathering, there was always some comment. Must be hard doing it alone. At least Marcus and Vanessa have stability for the kids. Vanessa is my brother's wife. She's a corporate attorney, beautiful, accomplished, and she's never liked me. I don't know if it's because I'm a public school teacher making $52K a year, or because Marcus still talks about our childhood like it was perfect, or what, but she's always made it clear that I'm not quite up to standard. Anyway, my grandmother. In her last 6 months, she had a stroke. She needed round-the-clock care. Marcus and Vanessa have 3 kids and demanding careers. My parents are retired, but they travel constantly, living their best life in their 60s. So, I did it. I moved in with Grandma Helen. I took a leave of absence from work, pulled Sophie out of aftercare, and we lived in that little house in Sacramento with Grandma for 6 months. I bathed her, fed her, managed her medications, took her to endless appointments. Sophie would read to her every night. We made it work. Marcus visited twice. My parents came by maybe once a month, usually just for an afternoon. I didn't complain. I wanted to be there. Grandma Helen had always been the one person in the family who made me feel seen. She'd been a teacher too, before she had kids. She understood me. The week before she died, she was lucid for the first time in days. She took my hand and said, "Elena, baby, I've taken care of it. The lake house is yours. You're the only one who ever really loved it." I tried to argue, said it should be split between Dad and his siblings, but she just squeezed my hand. "It's done. Trust your grandmother." When the will was read, there were some surprises. Her estate was bigger than anyone expected. She'd been smart with money, made good investments. Each of her 4 children got $150,000. Each of her grandchildren got $25,000. Except me. I got the lake house, valued at about $800,000, plus an additional $100,000 in a trust fund that I could access for Sophie's education or emergencies. My Uncle James contested it immediately. Said Grandma wasn't in her right mind. that I'd manipulated her. It went to court. 6 months of legal battles, during which my family stopped speaking to me. The will held up. Grandma had updated it 2 years before the stroke, when she was completely sound. She'd even written a letter explaining that I was getting the lake house because I was the only grandchild who'd spent real time there, who'd taken care of it over the years, who'd taken care of her. The judge ruled in my favor. Uncle James got his $150,000 and nothing more. My dad got his share. Marcus got his $25,000. And I got the lake house. For a while, things were quiet. My parents were civil but distant. Marcus and I barely spoke. I put Sophie in a great school with some of the trust fund, started saving the rest for college. I kept teaching. I went to the lake house on weekends, kept it maintained, just like Grandma would have wanted. Then came my father's 70th birthday. My mother had been planning it for months. A big dinner at the Woodside, this fancy restaurant in the hills. 70 people, family, friends, colleagues from Dad's engineering career. I didn't want to go, honestly. The tension with the family was still thick. But Sophie asked if we could go, said she missed seeing her cousins, and I couldn't say no to her. I bought a new dress, navy blue, simple, appropriate. I got my father a nice gift, a first edition of his favorite Hemingway novel. Sophie made him a card. We showed up right on time. The first hour was fine. Awkward, but fine. People made small talk. Sophie played with Marcus's kids in the corner. I chatted with some of my dad's old friends, people who remembered me as a kid. Then came the speeches. Uncle James went first, told some funny stories about growing up with Dad. My Aunt Carol talked about what a great brother he was. Then Marcus stood up. "I want to talk about family," he started, and I felt my stomach drop. "Dad, you taught us that family is everything. That we stick together, support each other, put each other first." He was looking right at me. "You taught us that success isn't just about money or status, it's about integrity, being there for the people who matter." Vanessa was smiling beside him. "Some of us remember those lessons. Some of us live by them." My mother had this weird expression, like she knew what was coming but wasn't going to stop it. "And some of us," Marcus continued, his voice getting harder, "put ourselves first. Take what they can get, don't care who they hurt." Someone coughed. The room went quiet. My grandmother left Elena $1 million property. Meanwhile, those of us who have families to support, who have actual responsibilities, got basically nothing. And does Elena offer to share? To help out her brother who helped her through college? No. She keeps it all. I felt like I'd been slapped. Sophie tugged on my sleeve, confused. "Marcus," my father said quietly. But Marcus wasn't done. "I'm just saying, Dad, you raised me to believe family helps family, but I guess that only goes one way in this family." He sat down. Vanessa patted his hand. The room was silent. Everyone was looking at me. I could have stood up. Could have defended myself. Could have reminded everyone that I was the one who put my life on hold for 6 months while Marcus visited twice. Could have mentioned that Grandma's will was her choice, not mine. Could have said a lot of things. Instead, I picked up my purse, took Sophie's hand, and walked out. I heard my mother call my name, but I didn't turn around. Sophie was crying in the car, asking what Uncle Marcus meant, why he was so mad. I told her people sometimes say things they don't mean when they're upset. But inside, I was furious, humiliated, done. We drove home in silence. Sophie fell asleep before we even hit the highway. I white-knuckled the steering wheel and tried not to cry. The next morning, my phone rang at 7:15. My mother, "Elena, we need to talk about the lake house." I was still in bed. Sophie was asleep down the hall. I could hear the edge in Mom's voice, that tone that meant she'd already decided how this conversation would go. "Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't be smart. After what happened last night, your father and I have been talking. This situation with the lake house is tearing the family apart. Marcus tearing into me in public is tearing the family apart. He's hurt, Elena. He feels like you took advantage of Mom when she was vulnerable. Mom, the will was written 2 years before the stroke. The judge already ruled. I know what the judge ruled, but legally right doesn't make it family right. Your father and I think you should sign the lake house over to Marcus." I sat up. "What?" "He has 3 children. You have Sophie, and you get child support from Jake. Marcus could use that property. He could sell it, pay off the mortgage on their house, maybe finally buy Vanessa that practice she wants. Mom, Grandma left it to me. Grandma wasn't thinking clearly about the family dynamics. She didn't realize how this would hurt Marcus. You need to make this right. By giving away my inheritance? By putting family first for once, instead of just yourself. I hung up. She called back. I declined it. She texted, "This is exactly the selfishness Marcus was talking about." My father called an hour later. "Elena, honey, let's just talk about this." "Dad, there's nothing to talk about. Grandma left me the lake house. It's mine. I'm keeping it. No one's saying you have to give it away entirely. Maybe you could sell it and split the proceeds? Or put it in both your names?" So Marcus, who visited Grandma twice while she was dying, who didn't help take care of her, who got his $25,000, should now get half of what she specifically left to me? When you put it like that, you sound bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm done being the one who's supposed to sacrifice for everyone else's comfort. That's not fair. We've always supported you. You made me feel like a failure for getting divorced. You barely visit Sophie. And now you want me to hand over the one thing Grandma gave me because Marcus pitched a fit? Silence. "We'll talk when you've calmed down," Dad said, and hung up. The calls kept coming. My Aunt Carol called to say I was being unreasonable. Uncle James called to suggest I was proving everyone right about manipulating Grandma. Marcus sent a long text about how I'd always been jealous of him, how this was my way of finally getting something he couldn't have, how Grandma would be ashamed of me. That one hurt. Because Grandma wouldn't be ashamed. She'd left me that house on purpose. I ignored them all for 3 days. Then Vanessa showed up at my house. I opened the door, and there she was. Designer bag, perfect makeup, looking like she was heading to a deposition. "We need to talk," she said. "I don't think we do." "Elena, Marcus is prepared to file a lawsuit challenging the will again. New evidence that your grandmother wasn't competent when she signed over the deed." My heart skipped. There is no new evidence because it doesn't exist. Maybe. But litigation is expensive, time-consuming. Do you really want to put Sophie through months of family court drama? Wouldn't it be easier to just do the right thing? The right thing is honoring what Grandma wanted. Your grandmother left you a house you can't even afford to maintain. Property taxes alone are what, $15,000 a year? Insurance, upkeep, repairs, on a teacher's salary? How long before you have to sell it anyway? She wasn't wrong about the expenses, but I'd been managing. Barely. Marcus and I can buy it from you. Fair market value. $800,000. Cash. You can set up a trust for Sophie, invest it, actually be smart with it, instead of holding on to some sentimental cabin you use twice a year. Get off my porch, Vanessa. I'm trying to help you. No. You're trying to bully me into giving up what's mine, and it's not going to work. She smiled, but it wasn't friendly. We'll see. After she left, I stood in my living room, shaking. Sophie was at Jake's for the weekend. I was alone, and I was terrified. Because Vanessa was right about one thing. I couldn't afford a prolonged legal battle. My savings were decent, but not lawyer for months decent. And even if they couldn't win, they could make it expensive enough that I'd have to sell the lake house just to pay legal fees. I called Jake. He listened to everything, then said, "Elena, these people are toxic. You need to protect yourself and Sophie." "How?" "Get a lawyer. A good one. Figure out what your options are." So I did. Mr. Chen came, recommended by Jake's sister, who's a paralegal. I met with him the next week, brought all the documentation, the will, the court ruling, the deed, everything. He read through it all, asked questions, made notes. "Your grandmother was smart," he finally said. "This will is airtight. They can try to challenge it again, but they'll lose. The question is whether you want to go through that fight." "I don't, but I'm not giving them the house." "You don't have to, but we can make it so they can't even try." He explained the options. I could put the property in a trust, with Sophie as the beneficiary. Irrevocable, meaning even I couldn't change it. I could form an LLC to hold it, which would add legal protection. I could do both. "If you do this," he said, "the property becomes untouchable. Your brother can't sue for it because it's not legally yours anymore. It's your daughter's future. You maintain control as trustee until Sophie turns 25, but ownership transfers immediately. Any legal challenge would fail because they'd have to prove Sophie isn't entitled to a gift from her great-grandmother, which is legally absurd. What about the costs? Maintaining it? The trust includes the cash your grandmother left you. You can use that for expenses until Sophie's old enough. In the meantime, you could rent it out during peak season, offset the costs. Or you just visit it, enjoy it, knowing it's safe. And my family can't do anything? They can be angry. But they can't touch it. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. Let's do it. The paperwork took 2 weeks. During that time, Marcus called 12 times. My mother sent daily texts about family loyalty. Vanessa sent an email with a formal purchase offer attached. Uncle James left a voicemail saying I was spitting on Grandma's grave. I ignored all of them. When the papers were ready, I went to Mr. Chen's office. I brought Sophie with me because she should see this. She should know that sometimes protecting what matters means making hard choices. "What are we doing, Mom?" she asked in the elevator. "Making sure the lake house is yours someday, baby." "The one with the tire swing?" "That's the one." "Cool." Mr. Chen explained everything in simple terms Sophie could understand. "Your great-grandmother loved you very much. She left you this special place. These papers make sure nobody can take it from you. Your mom will take care of it until you're grown up, and then it's all yours." Sophie nodded seriously, then asked if she could spin in his desk chair. He laughed and said yes. I signed everything. The trust documents, the LLC formation, the transfer of deed. My hand didn't shake this time. "Congratulations," Mr. Chen said. "Your daughter is now the owner of a very nice piece of property on Lake Tahoe." That was 2 days ago. This morning, I sent an email to my parents, Marcus and Vanessa, copied Uncle James and Aunt Carol too. Why not? The email was short. "I've been thinking about what you all said regarding the lake house. You're right that family is important. That's why I've transferred the property into an irrevocable trust for Sophie. It's her inheritance from her great-grandmother, held in trust until she's 25. I'm the trustee, which means I'll maintain it and make decisions regarding its use, but ownership belongs to Sophie. This means a few things. The property cannot be sold, transferred, or challenged. It's legally protected. Sophie will have the financial security her great-grandmother wanted her to have. This conversation is over. For those keeping track, here are some numbers. Grandma's will originally allocated $25,000 to each grandchild. Marcus received his. Sophie's inheritance includes the lake house plus the trust fund. If you'd like to calculate whether that's fair, feel free. Also worth noting, the will included a provision that anyone who challenged it would forfeit their inheritance. Uncle James lost his $150,000 when he contested it the first time. The funds were redistributed to the other siblings, which means Dad and Aunt Carol each received an additional $75,000. You're welcome. I don't expect you to understand this decision, and I don't need you to. What I need is for the calls, texts, and threats to stop. Sophie and I will be at the lake house this weekend if anyone would like to visit and actually spend time with her. Otherwise, we'll see you at Thanksgiving if you choose to include us. Elena. I hit send before I could second-guess it. My phone started ringing within minutes. I turned it off. Sophie and I drove up to the lake that afternoon. She fell asleep in the car, clutching her stuffed bear. The sun was setting when we pulled up to the cabin. The pine trees were dark against the orange sky. The lake was glass smooth. I carried Sophie inside, put her in the bed that used to be Grandma's, covered her with the quilt Grandma made. I walked out onto the deck and just stood there, breathing. My phone was still off, but I knew what was happening. My family was losing their minds. Marcus was probably ranting. Mom was crying about how cruel I was being. Vanessa was probably already calling lawyers, though it wouldn't matter. And I felt free. For the first time in years, I felt light. This wasn't revenge. I didn't do this to hurt them. I did it because Sophie deserved to have something that was just hers, something nobody could take or use as leverage. She deserved to have summers at this lake like I did. She deserved to know that her great-grandmother loved her enough to leave her something beautiful. And I deserved to stop setting myself on fire to keep my family warm. The dock creaked under my feet as I walked down to the water. I sat on the edge, let my feet dangle over. The water was cold. I thought about what my grandmother told me once, years ago. I was maybe 17, upset because Marcus had gotten into UCLA and I'd gotten rejected. She'd taken me to the lake, to this very spot. "Elena," she'd said, "some people are loud about their successes. They need everyone to see and celebrate. That's Marcus. But some people are quiet about their strength. They just keep going, keep loving, keep showing up. That's you. And in the end, sweetheart, the quiet ones are the ones who endure." At the time, I thought it was just something nice to say to a disappointed kid. But sitting there now, watching the stars come out, I understood. Grandma didn't leave me this place because I was her favorite or because she wanted to cause drama. She left it to me because she knew I was the one who would cherish it, who would protect it, who would make sure it stayed in the family by giving it to Sophie. Marcus wanted it because it was worth money. My parents wanted me to give it up because it was easier than dealing with Marcus's tantrum. But I wanted it because it was home. I turned my phone back on around midnight. 63 messages. I deleted them without reading. Then I drafted one more email, this time just to my family group chat. Forgot to mention, the trust is irrevocable and includes a clause that if anything happens to me, Sophie's father Jake becomes trustee. So if you're thinking about waiting me out, don't. This house will be Sophie's, no matter what. Also, I realized I never said this. I loved Grandma. I miss her every day. The 6 months I spent taking care of her were hard, but they were also a gift. I got to really know her. We talked about her life, her regrets, her hopes for all of us. She told me about how hard it was being a single mom, how scared she was sometimes, how she worried she wasn't enough. I think about those conversations when I'm worried about doing this parenting thing alone, when I feel like I'm failing. And I remember that Grandma raised 4 kids by herself and still managed to build something beautiful. The lake house isn't just a house. It's proof that hard work matters, that sacrifice matters, that love matters. Marcus, you said I manipulated Grandma. I didn't, but I did show up. I was there, and that mattered to her. Mom, Dad, you said I should put family first. I am. I'm putting Sophie first, and myself second. That's my family. The rest of you are relatives. And relatives, it turns out, you can live without. See you at Thanksgiving. Or not. Your choice. I hit send and turned the phone off again. In the morning, Sophie and I made pancakes in Grandma's old kitchen. We walked down to the water and I taught her how to skip stones like Grandma taught me. We found the tire swing, still hanging from the big oak, and I pushed her until my arms hurt and she was dizzy with laughter. "Mom," she said at lunch, eating sandwiches on the dock, "are you sad about Uncle Marcus?" "A little," I admitted. "But I'm okay. Great-grandma would want us to be happy here, right?" "She really would, baby." "Then we should be happy." Out of the mouths of 8-year-olds. We stayed through the weekend. I cleaned the cabin, fixed a loose board on the deck, aired out the rooms. It needed work, but it was good work, the kind that made me feel connected to the place. Sunday afternoon, we were packing up when a car pulled into the driveway. My heart jumped. I looked out the window, expecting Marcus or my parents. It was my Aunt Carol. I stepped outside. Sophie stayed in the cabin, peeking through the window. "Hi," I said carefully. Carol looked tired. She's my dad's younger sister, the one who always tried to play peacemaker. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I just wanted to see the place one more time. Mom loved it so much." She did. Carol walked past me to the deck, looked out at the lake. "I haven't been here in probably 15 years. God, it's beautiful." We stood there in silence for a minute. "Your mother and I talked," Carol said finally. "She's upset. James is furious. Marcus is. Marcus. And you?" She turned to look at me. "I think Mom knew exactly what she was doing. James challenged the will because he's greedy. Marcus wants it because Vanessa wants it. But you loved this place. You loved her. That mattered." I felt tears prickling. "Thank you." "The email was harsh," Carol said, but she was almost smiling. "The part about James forfeiting his inheritance? Brutal. I loved it." I laughed despite myself. "He earned it." "He did." She squeezed my shoulder. "Take care of this place. Bring Sophie up here. Make new memories. That's what Mom would want." After she left, I stood on the deck for a long time. Sophie came out and hugged my waist. Was that Aunt Carol? It was. Is she mad? No, baby. I think she understands. On the drive home, Sophie fell asleep again. I had the radio on low, some old folk station that played Grandma's favorites. The sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. My phone was still off, and it would stay that way for another day or two. Let them yell into the void. Let Marcus consult his lawyers who'd tell him there was nothing he could do. Let my mother wring her hands and talk about how I'd ruined everything. I knew the truth. I hadn't ruined anything. I'd saved something. The lake house would be there for Sophie, for her kids someday. It would be a place where our family, the family I was building with her, could go to breathe and remember and be. And Marcus? Marcus would be fine. He'd find something else to be mad about, someone else to blame. Vanessa would move on to her next battle. My parents would eventually accept it, or they wouldn't. Either way, I was done playing the role they'd written for me. The screw-up, the one who needed fixing, the one who should be grateful for whatever scraps of approval they threw my way. I was Elena Reeves, single mom, public school teacher, granddaughter of Helen Reeves. I showed up. I did the hard work. I loved the people who deserved it. And that lake house? That beautiful, perfect, impossible lake house? It was Sophie's future. And nobody, not even family, was going to take that from her. Tell me where you're watching from, what time it's for you right now, and have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting what matters? I made my choice. And I'd make it again. Every single time.